Can we be quiet, please? Kom ons sit almal stil, want ons gaan nou onze national anthem. Maar ek wil eers hê ons almal moet sit en stil bly. President, hier on Pofadder, ons praat Afrikaans. Maar ons sal meng. Can all of us be quiet? Thank you very much. Can we all stand up and allow the band to lead us with the national anthem of our country and of the AU? Over to you, band.
Thank
Thank you very much. I'm Nontobeko Vilakazi, the MEC responsible for social development, youth, women, and persons with disabilities, and sports, arts, and culture. I will be the co-director for this event. Myself and the DM of Sports, Arts, and Culture, we will be sharing the stage. I must say, President, as the Northern Cape, we are honored to be hosting this historical event of the Women's Day. I think it's the first event under the government of national unity. And this province, President, is really honored to be hosting and to be the first province who's hosting such an event. Thank you very much, President. His Excellency, the President, Utata Cyril Ramaphosa, our Honorable Premier, Dr. Zamani Sol, all ministers. I will request when I call on ministers just to stand up and wave so that the Noord Kaapse mense can sing views on some ministers. All ministers. Julle het myself gesien, hulle speel nie. Julle sien, hulle se attire. It's a Women's Day today. We are celebrating the Women's Day. Can I ask all our deputy ministers also just to wave? I'm sure you have observed the majority of our ministers and DMs who are here, it's women. Watinti Mbokoto. Can we also ask all our MECs to also just wave? Thank you very much. I guess yabona ngu 50-50 ku MECs. Can we also ask all our members of parliament, MPs and MPLs also to wave? We have our district mayor also amongst us. Can he also wave? Members of our diplomatic corps, if we have here, can they also wave for us? We have our DGs and in the presidency and all our DGs. And also we have our HODs from all three spheres of government. We have our traditional leaders amongst us. We have our religious and community leaders. We have our members from the media. We have our esteemed guests. Ladies and gentlemen, can we also take this opportunity to greet our most important people, the people of Pofadder. Goeiemôre aan julle. Thank you very much. We are continuing with our program. We're going to call upon our Premier, Dr. Zamani Sol, to come and welcome us. Ons is mos nou by sy territory. Ons wil ons jasa uithaal, laat die Premier vir ons asseblief welcome. Thank you, Premier.
Welkom. Halala kaima halala. Halala kaima halala. Voorwaarts, vroege dag, voorwaarts. Ek kan dit nie hoor nie, man. Lyk my mense van Kaima's vast aan die slaap vandag. Julle klink asof julle vast aan die slaap is vandag. En toe ons nou hier kom, toe vra die president vir my, sê, man, waar kry julle so klomp mense hier? En ek sê vir die president, dis die Namakwalaners die. Is dat nie so nie? Dis die mense van die Kalahari die. Ek sê dat vir die president. Laat ek die geleentheid gebruik om die programdirekteurs te groet. Een van dit is onze LER Vilakazi. Laat ek ook die geleentheid gebruik om onze eerbare president te groet en ook te verwelkom hier in Kaima. Die president is hier vandag. Net is nie 'n storie nie. En niemand droom hier, die president is hier saam met ons vandag. En toe ons gesê het, die president kom Kaima toe, Pofadder toe. Toe sê hulle, die mense is nog weer besig met hulle se lewens nie. En die president is nou hier. Maar hy klaar, hy sê die dorp was met jou nou plericoat. Hy sê die coat, hy sê plericoat. Hy klaar, ek sê dis hoe Namakwa is. En laat ek die president groet en ek wil dit noem dat met die besoek die president was nou in al ons 5 verskillende streke in die provinsie. Hy was in Francisbaard 2 keer daar. Hy was in ZFM in Appington 2 keer daar. Hy was in Kuruman, in John Taulogaitsiwe, en hy was ook in Pixlikaseme streek in de Aar. En nou is in Namakwa in Pofadder. En dis die enigste president in die geskiedenis van die provinsie na 1994 wat by al 5 streke van die provinsie gekom het. Al 5 streke gekom het. En ek het gehoor mense kla, waar's Pofadder, die president, hoe kom die president daar? Toe ek saam met hom praat, hy vra vir my, Pofadder, is daar slange? Ek sê nee. Hey, dit is 'n plek waar daar klomp slange is. Ek sê nee, daar is slange. Daar nie. Is een van ons groeipunte, is dit nie so nie? In die Noord-Kaap in terme van ons ekonomiese groei, Pofadder is ons groeipunt. Julle weet mos, ons het tans hier 'n SIZ gekry. Nee, ons het hier 'n SIZ gekry en dit kom loods voor die verkiesings. En die president was een van die mense wat hard gewerk het om seker te maak dat ons het die SIZ. Kan ons vir hom 'n lekker Noord-Kaap handeklap gee vir dit? 'n lekker Noord-Kaap handeklap gee vir dit. Dit was nog nie lekker nie, man. Hoe julle dan nog? Kan ons 'n betere handeklap kry? Ons almal weet wat is die groei wat saam met die SIZ sal kom. The SIZ will change the economic landscape of this area. Create the much needed job opportunities for young people around here and ensure that we grow the economy of Kaima, Namakwa, the province and as well as the country. Ek sien hier paar ministers en deputy ministers wat saam met die president hier is. Ek sal noem minister Chikunga, who's responsible for this program in the presidency. Kan ons vir hulle nou vra dat hulle nou net opbeweeg en vir hulle nou 'n lekker handeklap gee van die Noord-Kaap, man. Ja, ek vra dat hulle nou opbeweeg, verstaan hulle dan nie Afrikaans nie. Dat hulle opbeweeg, ja, they must rise, so that we can, ek het dat nog nie gehoor nie, 'n lekker Noord-Kaap handeklap. Ja, ek dink hulle voel welkom nou. Hulle voel verwelkom nou hier in die Noord-Kaap en ons is baie dankbaar dat hulle tyd gemaak het om hier saam met ons te wees. Is dit nie so nie? Ons bly ver. Pofadder is jou 'n bietjie lekker ver. As jy in Kimberley is, nee, as jy in Kimberley is, dan moet jy iets so 650 kilometers ry om hier te wees. Ander MEC was hier. Nie MEC, een minister was hier. Hy vroeg my, Zamani, ek is hier by die airport hier in Kimberley. Hoe ver moet ek nou ry? Ek sê, ek hoor dit is so 2 ure van hier af Pofadder toe. Ek sê, dan sal jy moet weer vlug Pofadder toe van Kimberley af. En dit sal 2 ure vat. Ek sê, 650 kilometers. Ek sê, nou moes dit heel dag ry. Ek sê, ons ry maar so heel dag, amper elke dag. So vir ons is gewoond aan dit, dat is so nie. So maar hulle is almal hier. En ons is baie dankbaar. We are very grateful for the effort that you have made to join us on this very important day, on the 9th of August, Women's Day. All these people who are here, they should be very happy to have about 4 or 5 ministers at once and deputy ministers and have all the MECs here. They should be very grateful. It's not always that we've got ministers around here. Laat ek ook almal groet en vernaams. Ek sien ons het burgemeesters ook van ander munisipaliteite wat hier is. Laat ons die burgemeesters 'n lekker hande klap gee. En waar is die plaaslike burgemeester? Kloete, burgemeester Kloete, waar is hy? Sy is hier. Laat ons ook vir ons burgemeester 'n lekker hande klap gee. Ek sien sy is soos 'n makoti aangetrek vandag. Is dat dan beeste wat ek nie van weet nie? Sy is soos 'n makoti aangetrek vandag. Oké, ons het ons burgemeester ook hier en baie dankie vir julle self, die skare wat hier is. Die skare wat hier is, ons het paar duisende mense wat nou hier is. Kan julle vir julle self 'n lekker hande klap gee? So met daai paar woorde op die belangrike dag, sê ons vir ons president, hy is welkom hier in Kaima, hier in Pofadder. Baie dankie.
Baie dankie, premier. Kan ons vir premier weer 'n ander hand gee? Before I call the next speaker, I would love to acknowledge our Provincial Commissioner of the Police, Umamu Otola. She's also a woman. Malibongwe. Thank you very much, Premier. Ons kan nou ons gasten eetal, want ons is nou lekker verwelkom. Thank you very much, Premier. Ons gaan aan met ons program. Our next item on the program, we're going to call upon the Namakwaland High School to come and render the preamble of our Constitution. Over to you, school.
Greetings to the President
and House at large and all protocols observed.
We, as Namakwaland High School, are honored to do the preamble.
We, as South Africans,
recognize the injustice of our past.
Honor those who have suffered for justice and freedom in our land.
respect those who have worked hard to build and develop our country.
Re le ngata engwe ka go forologana rona ka jalo ka maemedi ba itlhophetseng
ka kgololosego re amogela molaotheo o jaaka molao wa rephaboliki.
Die verdeeldheid van die lewe te heel en 'n samelewing gegrond op demokratiese waardes en 'n maatskaplike geregtigheid te heel.
Die grondslag te lê vir 'n demokratiese en oop samelewing waarin regering gegrondves is op die wil van die bevolking en elke burger gelyk deur die reg beskerm word.
Kuphucule umgangatho wobomi wabo bonke abemi. Kukhulule nomuntu ngamnye afinyelela kwalona ngonaba anokufikelela kulo nobuchule bakhe kananjalo.
Kwakhiwe uMzantsi Afrika omanyeneyo wentando yesininzi okwaziyo ukuthabatha indawo yawo onelungelo layo njengelizwe elizimeleyo kusapho phakathi kwamanye amazwe.
May God protect our people. Nkosi sikeleli Afrika. Morena buluka setšhaba sa Yesu. Hosts in Africa. God bless South Africa. Mudzimu vatuthetha Africa. Hosi katikisa Africa.
Thank you very much. Wow, that was beautiful. Can we give them another round of applause? Thank you so much. Now it's time for me to give over to our program director, which is our DM, Deputy Minister for the Office of the Women, Youth, and persons living with disabilities. I will give over to her now. Thank you so much.
Halala Pofadder, halala. Halala Pofadder, halala. Halala Namakwalen, halala. Thank you so much, MEC, Co-Program Director, His Excellency President Ramaphosa, Honorable Premier Dr. Soul, Minister in Presidency responsible for women, youth, and persons with disabilities, ministers who are here with us, deputy ministers, all MECs that are here with us, Executive Mayor, members of diplomatic community, and I also want to recognize United Nations Women is represented also in the House, so thank you so much, Deputy Country Director, all councillors that are here, and members of police led by Commissioner, thank you so much. I want to specially greet the community of Pofadder, Namakwaland, we are grateful, we are super excited to be here on the day where we celebrate, where we honor women, where we reflect on the past, but we also focus on the future that we need to build today. We are here under the theme of National Women's Day that is focusing on celebrating 30 years of democracy towards women's development. So President, we are super excited because we have been in this journey for the last 30 years celebrating women in all their diversity. And today, as we mark this day, we mark it with the strides, with the progress, but also we mark it with what needs to be done for the next couple of years in this new administration. But we have so much to be proud of because women have a role in this country. Women have led us, women have showed us the way, and women will continue to lead the way. And we must applaud all women in their diversity for leading in South Africa. I'm excited to call upon my minister, Minister Cindy Chukunga, who's responsible for women, youth, and persons with disability. Over to you, Minister. Malibongwe.
Igama lamakhosikazi. Wathinta imbokodo. Wathinta abafazi. Thank you very much, co-program directors, Deputy Minister in the Presidency for Women, Youth and Persons with Disabilities, Ms. Mapaseka, Steve Litsike, MEC for Sports, Arts and Culture in the Northern Cape Province, Ms. Vilakazi, the President of the Republic of South Africa, His Excellency Mr. Cyril Ramaphosa, the Premier of the Northern Cape Province, Dr. Zamani Sol, Ministers, Deputy Ministers, MECs, Members of Parliament, members of the Provincial Legislature, Executive Mayor of Kaima Local Municipality, Councillor Grunewald, all mayors that are here and councillors, United Nations Women Deputy Representative, Ms. Hazel Gooding, veterans of the women's movement, representatives of political parties, religious, traditional, community leadership, DG of the Department of Women, Youth and Persons with Disabilities, Advocate Maluleka and other DGs and HODs, and senior and staff of the Public and Administration Services, women organization representatives. We have here, we corner, SAWIC also in our presence, community members in general, and Pofadder community members in particular, members of the media, fellow South Africans, Malibongwe. Happy Women's Day to women of South Africa. Happy Women's Day. Halala, women of South Africa, halala. Hey, Northern Cape Province, hey, Program Director, as it has been said, my name is Sindisiwe Chikunga, the Minister in the Presidency responsible for women, youth, and persons with disabilities. Our department is responsible for 3 important constituencies who make up 2/3 of the entire population in South Africa. That is women, youth, and persons with disabilities. We are charged with a historic mandate to provide strategic leadership on social transformation, on economic transformation, and implementation of the empowerment and participation of women, youth, and persons with disabilities. And we do this through mainstreaming, through advocacy, which might be by word of mouth, but also in action through monitoring and evaluation. Core program directors, yesterday I attended Umanyano Women's Prayer together with women of Pofadder. What moved me is love the women of Pofadder have for their country. Mr. President, the women have committed themselves to praying for our beloved South Africa, to praying for the president, and to praying for the entire leadership in different areas of responsibilities. I observed the exceptional interrelations, respect, and hard work amongst the public servants, who yesterday included the police, women from correctional services, and women from other departments. But also, I observed the presence of civil organization representatives as well as the community members of Pofadder. Present yesterday were pastors from different churches and interfaith. The citizens of Pofadder in Kaima local municipality have requested government to come back and empower the women and youth. They indicated that they want to establish small businesses in order to alleviate poverty and create jobs. They told us that a lot of youth here is unemployed, and that many of them, because of poverty, they end up abusing drugs and alcohol. They begged us to assist the youth persons. But also, they told us that they already do have some small and medium enterprises that are now established. But of course, all of them do require finance and training support. In the evening at Uppington, I met more than 100 private sector and women in business. Although coming from different sectors and industries, common challenges faced by women here in the Northern Cape include funding, incubation of their businesses, as well as training. Chief amongst their requests is for officials serving in government departments to listen and treat them as business women, but also professionally and ethically. Program director, ladies and gentlemen, present at the dinner last night was Women Economic Assembly, known as WICONA, representatives. I must share my deep appreciation for the work done thus far and the continuous commitment expressed by the Women Economic Assembly in ensuring that the gains made in advancing women's entrepreneurship are protected, advanced by all social partners, and are institutionalized. WICONA has requested the department to closely monitor the implementation of the Public Procurement Act recently signed into law by the President of the Republic to regulate public procurement, including preferential procurement by all organs of state. To this end, WICONA will also play its part by conducting interprovincial roadshows to ensure awareness and institutionalization of the provisions of this progressive act. Women of South Africa, the Women Economic Assembly has committed to working with women and for women. During the dialogue with the private sector and women in business last night, I was equally elated when I heard the Premier of this province committing to the implementation of what he termed a gender-biased budgeting and planning across all government departments in the Northern Cape province. I wish to reiterate my appreciation to the Premier, Honorable Zamani Soul, for his commitment towards addressing the plight of women. The Premier appointed an MEC responsible for women, youth, and persons with disabilities. This is unique in this province. The Premier affords women empowerment the seriousness it deserves, and it is my humble plea that all provincial premiers in the Republic adopt this exemplary progressive approach. Thank you, Premier, for your unapologetic commitment to empowerment agenda. Ladies and gentlemen, in these 3 decades of democracy, today we pause to celebrate 30 years of democracy towards women's development. We recognize the strides we have made, the victories we have attained, and the challenges we have overcome, and those that persist in our collective cause for self-determination and self-actualization. On this Women's Day, 70 years after the Women's Charter, we pause to honor the timeless and selfless contribution made by women of our country and the continent. However, we know too well that even after freedom, and the freedom was attained, women across Africa have had to continue fighting for their rights to equal opportunities and self-determination. Patriarchy, gender-based violence and femicide, racism and related gender-based forms of economic exclusion continue to intersect and perpetuate systems that keep women marginalized in political, economic, and social spheres of life. Therefore, National Women's Day and the entire Women's Month provide an opportunity for us to reflect, to introspect, and to identify where our approaches to quality and justice have fallen short. To bring about women inclusion in the economy, it is our commitment, which we will do smilingly if necessary, angrily if necessary, and robustly if necessary, but we are committed to it. Program Director, with those few words, allow me to introduce someone who needs no introduction to South Africans. Ladies and gentlemen, it gives me great pleasure to take this opportunity to present to you a statesman, a trade unionist, a political stalwart, a business connoisseur, a legal professional, a philanthropist, the president of the African National Congress, and the president of our beloved South Africa, Mr. Cyril Ramaphosa. Your Excellency, may you humbly come and address the nation, and thank you.
Thank you. Baya dankie, baya dankie. Let us be seated, please. Program directors, ministers who are here present, and deputy ministers who are also present here, MECs, and of course our Premier who spoke earlier, our MECs, our mayors, our councillors, and leaders of various organizations here in Northern Cape, religious organizations, leaders, community-based organizations and sports leaders, organizations, and ladies and gentlemen and fellow South Africans. Goeiemôre. Molweni. Sanbonani. Dumelang. Abshin. Ndimacheron. That is baie koud hier in Pofadder vandag. Today I greet all the women of South Africa, as your president, vandag groet ek al die vroue mense van Suid-Afrika as julle president. En ek groet al die mense ook as 'n seun wat uit 'n vrouwmens gebore is, as 'n broer vir 'n suster en as 'n man van 'n baie mooi vrou. En ook, ja, sy is baie mooi. En as 'n vrou van, nee, as 'n vader van dogters. Ek het 2 dogters, baie mooi dogters ook. Julle kerels, julle moet nie nou baie dinge dink nie. On this day, I do indeed pay tribute to the women of South Africa. They are the true pillars of our communities, as die pilare van ons gemeenskap. They are the anchor of our families. They are the backbone of our nation. As we say, abafazi imbokodo. Today we stand on the shoulders of giants. Giants who are wise, caring, loving, and selfless women who raised us, who made us what we are, who nurtured us, and who also led our country to freedom. It is my real honor to be here in Pofadder. Dit is my eer om hier in Pofadder en Kaima plaaslike municipaliteit te wees. Die Noord-Kaap is die geboorteplek van baie vrouhelde, heroes and heroines of our liberation struggle. People like Mama Francis Bart, people like Mita Siperepere, Tina Jumat Peterson, and many others. The Namaqua district is known for its very rich cultural history. It is a home of the Nama people, the very proud Nama people. This province is home of our living legend, Mama Katrina Esau, who is fighting to preserve the language and culture of the San people. And today we remember all the women of this province and from across South Africa who have played their important role in building our country. We salute their resilience and their dignity. Each year on Women's Day, we commemorate the historic march of more than 20,000 women who bravely marched to the Union buildings in Pretoria on the 9th of August 1956 to protest against the extension of past laws to women. And today, that is why we have this public holiday in commemoration and memory of those 20,000 women who came from all over South Africa. They were courageous, they were brave, and they were determined and they stood in silence for 30 minutes once they had given their petitions to the then apartheid rulers. And I'm told that the Prime Minister of the time, on seeing that they were approaching, he got into his car and ran away. I will not run away. I have been involved in situations where women came to give a petition at the union buildings, and I was there at 9 o'clock at night, and I received those petitions, and I did not run away. But the then Prime Minister ran away. Hy het weggehardloop, want hy was baie bang vir die voormense van ons land. Ons sê baie dankie vir al die 20,000 vroumense wat union buildings toegegaan het in 1956. And it is these women who said, Watinta Bafazi, Watinti Mbogoto, Uzagufa. When you strike the women, you strike a rock and you will be crushed. Finish and clear. In the many years since then, and this song has come to represent women's courage in South Africa and their strength. I must say that whenever we have state visits, I tell this story every time we have Women's Day. Whenever we have state visits and when heads of state come to the union buildings, there is a representation of two rocks, one at the bottom, one on top. And I always explain to them what happened on the 9th of August in 1956 at that very spot. And I tell them that the stone on the top is to grind. And this is the stone that did grind the apartheid system. And today we have our freedom because the women of our country also marched to the union buildings on the 9th of August. So in many ways than one, we as South Africans, and especially we, the men in South Africa, must say thank you to the women of our country of 1956 who were brave, maybe even braver than us men, who marched against the might of the apartheid state. So we say thank you, thank you, thank you for all the vroumense van South Africa. So today, as we celebrate 30 years of freedom and democracy, we should take stock. We should reflect on how far we have come. We should be able to to talk about the challenges that stand in the way of the emancipation of the women of our country. To move forward, we must understand our past. South Africa remains a highly unequal country. Poverty still has the face of a black woman. When you want to understand poverty in South Africa, you just need to look at the face of a black woman, of a colored woman. Yes, those are the faces that you need to look at, and you will see poverty. Black women are more likely to be unemployed, to be poor, and to be unskilled. Cultural norms and practices, many of these the product of colonialism and apartheid, continue to hold our women back. Apartheid broke up families. Men were recruited as migrant laborers, leaving women and children behind to fend for themselves. Young girls were brought up for marriage. As they were growing up, they were seen as being young women who should just be married, even before they could get an education. They were confined to the home. Now, over 30 years, through the struggles of women, we have done much to improve the status and the circumstance of the women of South Africa. We have built on the struggles of many decades. This year marks 70 years since the historic Women's Charter was adopted. It is 30 years since the adoption of the Women's Charter for effective equality. These charters continue to guide our efforts, to inform what we should do, to empower the women of our country and to address their challenges. As the Women's Charter demands, yes, we continue to find ways of ensuring that women are placed in a situation where they can exercise their rightful rights. They have the right, the women of our country today have the right to vote. They have the right to equal work for equal pay. They have the right to equality before the laws of our country. And these rights did not exist in the past. And we have made great progress in providing for the protection of mother and children. As the Women's Charter demands, we have worked to provide proper homes, yes, for many women in our country, but we still have to do much more. Many women in our country still do not have their homes, still do not have places where they can bring up their children. Many women in our country still live in shacks. They still live in tin houses. They still live in plastic houses. And this is what we must correct. And correct this we shall, because we must give dignity to the women of our country. We have to use the words of the Charter, worked to provide water, light, transport, sanitation, and other amenities of modern civilization. Women in South Africa enjoy rights and freedoms under our Constitution. They benefit from progressive legislation. Women today are significantly represented in Parliament, in government, and in the judiciary. It was a moment of great pride for me to sign a presidential order appointing the first female Chief Justice of our country. And in this regard, I must say that we have made history. We have made history, and it has been a moment of great pride to ensure that, yes, even the Cabinet of the Republic has a balance between men and women. And I must confess that because we were setting up a government of national unity, where we had to bring in 10 political parties, I missed it just by one woman. But it is a cabinet that has a lot of women, and I am proud of that. Thanks to our affirmative action policies, there are today more women in important positions, even in various companies. Many women are becoming CEOs of big companies in South Africa, mining companies, commercial companies, manufacturing companies. The women of our country are surging forward. But more still needs to be done, especially in the private sector. Women in South Africa enjoy the right to quality health care. Yes, including reproductive health care. Millions of women in South Africa are supported every month with social grants to enable them to care for their families and to support their children. South Africa has one of the highest rates of women literacy in our region. There is parity between girls and boys in primary school enrollment. Ek vind dat baie van die jong mense wat skool toe gaan, baie van hulle is die meisie kennis en hulle is baie slim, slimmer as die manne. That's what I'm finding. And that maak my baie bly. Female learners achieve bachelor's passes. Yeah. Young women make up the majority of students in higher education institutions. As jy universiteit gaan, jy vind dat die vroumense is meer as die manne. And the young doctors van ons land, they do much better than the men. And that is something that we can be proud of. We have prioritized women and youth in our public employment programs. Around 66% of the participants of the presidential employment stimulus are women. Yet we still have much further to go. Now, as the government of national unity, we are united across the political spectrum by our common commitment to improve the lives of South African women. Now, what we did, we brought together 10 partye, and we said, let's work together, let ons almal werk, and let us put a government of national unity together. Now, this government of national unity is still growing, it's still developing, but we are united on the issue of empowering the women of our country. Each of the political parties has pledged that, yes, we will empower the women of our country so that we can grow our economy and accelerate development, so that women must take their rightful place as active participants in the economy. Ons wil hê die vroumense van ons land moet in die economy they must partake in the economy of the country in an active manner, in a way in which they will be able to get employment, to be business women, to be able to bring up their children, to ensure that there is economic progress in their own homes. And we want them to be producers, we want them to be employers, and we want them to succeed. This is what we have committed ourselves to. We want the women of South Africa to succeed. Now, to support this effort, we launched the Women's Economic Assembly. The Assembly aims to secure procurement opportunities for women-owned businesses in different industries, also in government, through the Women's Economic Empowerment Program. Approximately 8,000 women have been trained to establish and manage their own businesses. With funding from government and development finance institutions, we are increasing the support provided to women-owned enterprises. I did say that I would like 40% of government procurement to go to women-owned and controlled businesses. And that is what we are working on now. And we say this in real earnestness because it is the women of our country who bear the burden of supporting families. It is the women of our country who, when they earn money, either as employees or as businesswomen, they first think of their families. Whereas men often think of other things. They think of other things. They think of cars. They think of yeah, they also think of going to a shebeen to go and drink the money. But when the women of our country earn a rand, they immediately think that they must buy food for their children. They must provide for their children. And that is why the women of our country are the real heroines of our nation, because they bring the nation up. We as South Africans today, we are what we are because of the women of South Africa. And we are grateful for that. So we are working to ensure that women must own land, especially in the rural areas. They must be able to own land, to be farmers, to produce food, the food that will feed this nation. This is so that they can farm and have assets that they can use to build and grow not only their own businesses, but the nation. We are driving initiatives to improve the health outcomes of the women of South Africa. This is part of our commitment as the chairperson of the Global Leaders Network for Women, Children, and Adolescent Health. As we celebrate the gains that have been made during 30 years of our freedom, our country is deeply traumatized by the violence that continues to be perpetrated against women and children. This violence is a betrayal of our Constitution. It is an affront to our common humanity. In recent years, we have worked together to fight gender-based violence and femicide. Guided by our National Strategic Plan, we have introduced new laws that protect survivors of gender-based violence, that improve the response of the police and ensure harsher sentences to perpetrators. We have opened additional sexual offenses courts, and I've been to some of these courts where I have seen how we are becoming more and more focused in addressing the plight of women in our country. We have expanded our network of the Tutuzela care centers, which are a haven of women who are running away from abusive husbands or partners. Centers that care for the women who are traumatized by violence that is perpetrated by men. We have introduced more victim-friendly services at police stations across the country. Where there are still some weaknesses in some police stations, we are monitoring and insisting that our police stations must have friendly centers where women can be properly interviewed and cared for in dignity. We have just recently passed legislation for the establishment of the Gender-Based Violence and Femicide Council to mobilize and coordinate work across society. And I've said I would like this council to be established, to be constituted as quickly as possible. I know that there have been issues about the balance that there should be, that the women should be in the majority, and the legislation has not quite enabled that to happen. But I'm saying we will amend the legislation. We will make sure that, yes, the women of our country are in the majority on that council. But I want that council to be appointed immediately so that it can do the work that we want it to do as we amend the legislation. So I'm going to be urging our women organizations to move with speed so that we can appoint this council. Now, our Human Resources Research Council has completed the first ever national survey on gender-based violence prevalence in South Africa. The results of this groundbreaking survey are going to help guide our response to gender-based violence in our country. The study was undertaken in 2022 based on a random sample of many people who were interviewed at home. It measured issues such as physical, sexual, emotional, and economic abuse, as well as controlling behavior between intimate partners. Now, the detailed results of the survey will be released by Minister Chikunga in the coming weeks. Among other things, the survey found that around 7% of women that are aged between 18 and older had experienced physical and sexual violence in the past 12 months. Now, this rate was highest among young women, black women, women who completed secondary education, and women who are unmarried but live with a partner. 7% may sound like a lot, that it may not sound like a lot, but this figure is equivalent to 1.5 million women who are abused and violated. So according to the survey, over the course of just 1 year, more than 1.5 million women experience physical or sexual violence in our country. Now, this is not acceptable. This is more than the entire population of the Northern Cape. Imagine if the Northern Cape was only populated by women. This survey says all the women in the Northern Cape will have experienced violence or would have been sexually violated. This is not a statistic that we want, because these are human beings. These are people like all of us. These are women who have endured trauma that no person should have to experience. No woman in South Africa should be subjected to violence or to sexual harassment or to sexual violation at the hand of another person or a man. This should not happen. The survey highlights that physical violence starts early, often affecting adolescents, girls, and young women, and continues throughout adulthood. Around 13% of women who had ever been in an intimate relationship reported that they had experienced economic abuse at the hands of their partner. This is why we need to address the massive inequality in income between men and women. And that is why we say men and women who do the same work must get paid the same amount of money. We should not have a situation where men, and this happens in companies and other institutions, where men are seen as people who should earn more than women. What is so much more important for a man to earn more than a woman? Nothing. We're all empowered with the same brain power, and maybe women have better brain power than men. And so we must earn the same. On average, women earn a quarter of their income from grants compared to a far lower percentage for men. We must therefore create more jobs and more economic opportunities for women so that they are less vulnerable to exploitation and abuse. Significantly, 4% of men in the survey reported having perpetrated violence against a woman in the preceding 12 months. This translates to over 600,000 men who perpetrate violence against women. This makes clear what we all know. Men must change their behavior. Men must change their attitudes. During the election campaign, I used to go around the country and say to men, zip up, pull your zip up. And I would demonstrate and I would say, I said, pull your zip up. And yes, it was the women of our country who applauded more. But I want the men to applaud more when I say zip up. You must not go with your zip just hanging down. You need to zip it up and not go about violating the rights of women and raping women. And I've said, my broers, as je liefde wil hê, je moet mooi praat. Je moet mooi vry. As jy mooi praat, ja, onze vrouwmense sal jou bietjie help. Now, I even said, you know, ek dink ek moet nou, I must go and start a school. A school waar ek kan 'n paar manne leer om te vry. Ja, ek dink ek moet so doen. Want jy moet 'n man wat mooi kan vry, so that you can zip up. That is why today we call on all South African men to make a pledge. Now, this is important. We call on all South African men to make a pledge and to be part of the solution, to take responsibility for their actions as men. And this pledge, so you know, was initiated by young boys at a school. These young boys initiated a pledge system, and they, as young boys, had become aware of the violence that is perpetrated against women in our country. And as young boys, they said they want to make a pledge. And they said in their pledge, they will never raise a hand against a woman. They pledged that they will treat women as equals. They pledged that they will respect the rights of women and treat them with dignity. We must now end gender-based violence, and we must work together as a society. We must work together, both men and women, both young and old, to end gender-based violence and femicide in our country. We cannot continue to be known as a country where women continue to be raped, to be killed, and to be violated. This must come to an end in South Africa, and the men of this country must make a stand and say, this we are going to stop. We will not be violating the women of our country anymore. Fellow South Africans, when we call South African women imbokodo, when we call them the rock, we use the term they chose to describe themselves. The face of poverty in South Africa may be that of a woman, but it is also the face of resilience. It is the face of determination. It is the face of achievement. The current generation of imbokodo have been clear, and they have said there must be nothing that is done about women without their participation. They say nothing about us without us. And we must respect that. The blood and the sweat and the tears of South African women secured our freedom. And it is their labor, their toil, and their sacrifice that continues to build this nation. They are fighting not just for themselves. They are fighting for the dignity, the rights, and the well-being of all of us. As our mothers, as our grandmothers, as our great-grandmothers, our aunts, our sisters, our daughters, you are our heroes. We offer you our tribute, and we offer you our gratitude. And we thank you as the women of our country for all you are doing to build our nation. Now we will continue to empower the women of our country. This government, and indeed the government of national unity, is going to continue to make all efforts at all times to make sure that we prioritize the empowerment of women. And we will continue to do so. That has not always been done in this country in the past, before 1994. Since 1994, we've been on a journey. We've been on a march to make sure that the women of our country are placed in a position where they feel empowered. Much still needs to be done. Yes, we need to deal still with inequality. There is still quite a lot of inequality. There's still quite a lot of discrimination against the rights of women. But we are determined as a government to make sure that we put the rights of women on the radar screen of our government and on the radar screen of the nation. To you women of South Africa, I want to end by saying your situation will continue to be improved. You have the determination of myself as president. You have the determination of the government of national unity. You have the determination of many men in our nation to ensure that you are empowered and your rights are upheld. So I wish all the women of South Africa a blessed Women's Day. And I want to thank you for being the women that you are and the mothers of our nation. Thank you very much.
Halala President Ramaphosa, halala. Halala President Ramaphosa, halala. Viva Northern Cape, viva. Viva Namaqualand, viva. Viva Pofadder, viva. President Ramaphosa, we are super excited. Ons is gelukkig, want ons is ook belangrijk in die Noord-Kaap. We are happy because not only are we celebrating Women's Day with a lot of commitment, but also a pledge that we will continue with generation equality. While we're going to have a pledge that will be signed and led by President, we're going to ask for the performance from BTRCC as well as SABC to lead us with the items that will celebrate this moment. But to join President Ramaphosa, I'm going to request Premier Zamani Soul, together with the men who are Deputy Minister as well as MECs. But I'm going to add President Ramaphosa because I saw some few faces that are here to represent the national men's sector, Mr. Byung Kai Leng, who's the chairperson, to join you. I also saw the face of Reverend who's here to join you, Reverend Des, to join you. I'm also going to ask for another face that I saw, but I will invite a young man to join you, so that we have a collective multi-sectoral representation, including representative of the LGBTI sector, because there are men there. No one must violate anyone in our country where we are all equal. So I'm really requesting that our leadership, this pledge that you see that will be led or read actually by the Speaker of Namaqualand, which is Speaker Borg, who's going to read it out, and it will be signed by President together with Premier and the persons that have called to join to sign this pledge. Men in all their diversity are standing up saying enough is enough. No women, no child, no persons with disability or anyone will be violated in their names. And we must not only have our leaders standing here, but men everywhere they are, in church, in school, in our homes, will no longer be violating women and young people. Enough is enough. So I'm going to call Speaker to read the pledge. He will be joined by delegates led by our President to sign this pledge accordingly. MECs, deputy ministers, and representatives to come join us on stage. Thank you.
There we go. Yeah.
Yes. Only male.
His Excellency, President Cyril Ramaphosa, I narrate this pledge for South African male to end gender-based violence. As a man, I commit always to treat all women as equals. Treat a woman as a person, not as an object or possession. As a man, I will support women as best as we can and actively play my part to challenge rape culture and stop any form of prejudice, abuse, or violence against women. Call out other men for their inappropriate behavior or inappropriate comments towards women. We will respect a woman as I would expect to be respected as a man, because respect, equality, and the human rights of all South Africans are non-negotiable. Being a role model in teaching boys in my family and my community that expressing their emotions is not a sign of weakness, that violence is not a way to resolve conflict, and that women must be treated with respect. Treat other women how I would like my mother, my sister, or daughter to be treated. Advocate for the safety and well-being of children and actively work against all forms of abuse and violence. Call out and correct inappropriate behavior towards children by adults and peers. As a man, I never to raise my hand against a woman, intimidate, threaten, or demean any woman, whether it be physical, verbally, emotionally, or sexually, or allow any other person to do so. Perpetuate stereotypes about women or assume anything that a woman for what she is wearing. Make a woman feel violated by my gaze, my words, or my actions, or make her uncomfortable due to my presence. Make physical and or sexual contact with a woman without the explicit permission or force her into something that she doesn't want to do. Condone or remain silent about gender-based violence. Walk away from my responsibilities as a father, and if I have children, use my position at home, in the workplace, and in other social spaces to undermine women's rights and dignity. Make a child feel unsafe or uncomfortable with my presence, words, or actions. Engage in any inappropriate contact with a child or disregard to their boundaries. I thank you.
Thank you so much, Speaker. We're going to be led by President Ramaphosa in signing the pledge. President. That's it. That's it. So, President, this is how you should teken. Bring it closer. That's it. Okay. Premier is going to. He's going to. President signing on behalf of South African men. Allah. The Premier will be signing on behalf of Northern Cape. Deputy Minister Alvin Waters will sign on behalf of Deputy Ministers. MECs will sign on behalf of MECs, male MECs across the country. They must all follow MECs. Can we have the Speaker to sign on behalf of speakers of legislatures and council? Can we have the executive mayor to come sign on behalf of mayors? Reverend Des, can you sign on behalf of Bafundisis? The faith sectors. Byung Kaileng will sign on behalf of men's sector. Can we have the young men to sign on behalf of young people? And there's a wisdom, Banamakwati to sign on behalf of men in the LGBTI sector. His word will be a salvation. We have men in all of our diversity signing a pledge that no woman shall be violated in our country. No woman shall be oppressed in our country. In the quest of gender equality. Thank you, President Ramaphosa. Thank you. Down in my soul. We invite all men. President Ramaphosa, not only did he sign here, He also called upon all men. On Monday, we are going to launch an online pledge where every man who's not with us here today can go online and pledge and commit to ending violence against women and children. And throughout this event, there's going to be distribution also of pledges on paper. The man in the house must rise and stand with women of South Africa in your diversity. Stand up, rise for women in our country, protect women, and promote gender equality. So thank you so much, President Ramaphosa. I'm going to request that as we come closer to the end of the event, we're going to have cultural items, the real dance which will be shown, because we want to show the beauty of our culture, the beauty of South Africa, that actually if we are all connected and we embrace one another, we shall thrive as a country. So we're going to have an item by the Pieter Besses, and that's going to perform that side. Thank you so much, and afterwards I will hand over to my co-program director.
smaak so in die Noord-Kaap. Kom ons gee hulle weer 'n ander hand op applaus. Pofadder, is julle nog hier? Is julle nog hier? Dankie, ek kan hoor julle is nog hier. Ons het nou gekom amper op ons einde van ons program. We have come to the end of our program. But I think what I would like to say, President, immediately after the district mayor will come and render the vote of thanks and the closure, there will be a group that will be coming to perform the Pella dance group. And I would love, President, to watch this group. Dansal President Full, hy is in die Noord-Kaap. Ek wil sê baie dankie, ek gaan nie weer opstaan nie. I want to say to our ministers, to our deputy ministers, to our MECs, to everyone, to the premier of this province, as the province of the Northern Cape, thank you very much. Thank you, President, for bringing this event here. Amandla! Watinti Mbokoto! Halala Women's Month, halala! Halala Women's Day, halala! Over to you, District Mayor.
Baie dankie, Program Director MEC Walakasi. Thank you very much. Honorable President, in this part of the province and the country, we are using English in self-defense. But I went on a mission last week to Dr. Beyer's Nodie municipality in Graafrenet in the Karoo. And I know the Premier of the province like to refer to the Karoo, how they speak Afrikaans. And after that, we went to Saldanha by MEC Fas. And then I just realized all of us are just using English in self-defense in this country. So I'll try and mix it in Afrikaans and in English. But let me, before I do the vote of thanks, let me take this opportunity from the side of the people of Namakwa to congratulate you, Honorable President, on your election as the President of the Republic of South Africa for the second time. And we have asked our religious leaders within this region to pray for you for wisdom and guidance through these difficult times where we need to navigate where we are going with this country. But also, Honorable Premier, it's the first time that I have this opportunity also in terms of government to congratulate you on your election as the Premier for the second term in the Northern Cape province. And what we can say is the people of Namakwa, we rally behind your vision for a modern, growing and a successful province. And because of that vision, Honorable Premier, I had the privilege from the village I came from. I had the privilege late last year to also go home to my mother and I could use a cell phone within the village where I came from. So thank you very much for that vision also. Let me take this opportunity to thank the President, Honorable Cyril Ramaphosa, for bringing this event to the place we call the Bushmaland. We are now in the heart of the Bushmaland. When we are speaking about Kema municipality, it's actually we are saying you are in the Bushmaland area. For bringing this program to Namakwa and into Pofadder specifically. Ons weet dat die area is ook 'n area wat gebukken gaan onder vrouens en die uitdagings wat vrouens binne in ons gemeenskappe het. En as ons hier so staan, kan ons nie vergeet 'n jong vrou met die naam van Grietjie Kloete wat laas jaar breed vermoor is, net 'n paar kilometer hier vanaf en die lijk by die huis gekry het. So ek dink die program wat hier na toe gebring het is appropriate, sodat ons nie vir haar vergeet hoe sy gesterf het nie. Let me also take the opportunity to thank the Premier for gracing us with his presence here today, and also all other ministers who are here. And when you think you are in Namakwaland, no, you are not in Namakwaland. You must still go to Kubus. Kubus is still another 500 kilometers from here. Or you must go to Sutherland, honorable ministers and deputy ministers. It's still another 800 kilometers from here. So when we produce leaders like Samani Sol and others, we produce real hardcore leaders, because it's not easy to be a leader in this part of the country. But thank you very much for coming to Namakwa and gracing us with your presence here. All other deputy ministers, and I was surprised when the Deputy Minister of International Relations came to me and said it's cold in Pofadder. And I said, but you were supposed to be used to this cold of Pofadder. It's not cold today. But thank you very much, honorable ministers, for coming to Namakwa and gracing us with your presence. To the MEC's presence here from the Northern Cape, I see MEC Manapolo is here, MEC Blenis, MEC Maruping Lakweni, MEC Fas, and all others. Thank you very much for being here and coming to Pofadder today to celebrate Women's Month with us. And the mayors, executive mayors van die municipaliteite, nie net in Namakwa, maar ook in die Noord-Kaap en in ander dele van ons land. Baie dankie dat julle hiernatoe gekom het om saam met ons Vrouedag in Namakwa te vier. So ook aan General Otola en al die ander vrouens en manne en blou wat hier is en wat ons lekker veilig hou, maar ook aan al die ander amptenare, die DJ van die provinsie en alle ander DJ's wat hier is, en senior amptenare en amptenare van ons regering. Baie dankie dat julle hier is. Ek wil ook dankie sê aan die team van Department Sports, Arts and Culture, Provincial, from the Namakwa District Office, wat die laaste week en 'n half in Pofadder gebly het om seker te maak dat ons kry hierdie groot skare mense hier. Baie keer bedank ons nie vir hulle nie, maar dis eintlik die mense wat die harde werk agter die skerms doen. So baie dankie vir julle hier wees. Meer belangrik, baie dankie aan die gemeenskappe van Keima. Die gemeenskap van Onsipkans, halala Onsipkans, halala. Die gemeenskap van Witbank, halala Witbank, halala. Die gemeenskap van Rapenskrap, halala Rapenskrap, halala. Die gemeenskap van Pella, halala Pella, halala. Die gemeenskap van Pofadder, halala Pofadder, halala. En ook die gemeenskap van Aggeneys, halala Aggeneys, halala. Maar ook die gemeenskappe van Namakwa, spesifiek Namakwa en die Keigerriep, ons buurmunisipaliteit en region se gemeenskappe wat hier is. Sonder julle sou hierdie program nie suksesvol gewees het nie. But Honorable President, what I've learned yesterday is when the Minister of Women, Youth and Disability had a program here in the Pofadder Hall, she started by saying that without faith or without action, you can have faith, but without action, nothing is going to happen. In Afrikaans, sonder geloof, as jy geloof het, maar jy het nie aksie om dit by te sit by die geloof, gaan niks gebeur nie. The messages that we received from yesterday and in the week and up until now with our president delivering on what was the advantages that we made during the last 30 years. We need to go back, all of us. We need to go back and look where are we going to fit in to make sure we deal with the issues of women, the emancipation of women and the empowerment of women. And that's why, in conclusion, as the Namakwa district, we decided, Premier, the MEC of Social Development actually made me an acting MEC yesterday, just for 2 hours. So I took that power with everything I got. And the officials was running around from the province and saying acting MEC. But what we said yesterday, because of the challenges that women face in our region, we will have a dialogue, a regional, I know there's a national dialogue on national issues that will be coming. We said with the Department of Social Development yesterday, we will have a dialogue with men to come up with solutions on how we're going to deal with these issues that is facing our women. We can't have it that in our district that and our population that is so small, just over 100,000, that last week Saturday a young woman was stabbed to death by niece's boyfriend. In December, 18-year-old grade 12 leader was killed in a place called Brandvlei. So we need to have that dialogue, not just only on gender-based violence, but also in the economic part. And MEC Lakweni just said to me that from today on, after listening to the president, he will give all his bank cards to his wife. And she will transfer money to him, so he won't be having any signatures over his bank account. With those few words, thank you very much, Honorable President, and I believe, President, this will not be the last time. Few years ago in Kimberley, the two of us agreed that the President will come to Namakwa. Thank you very much for coming. And I will bring you again here. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, District Mayor. Where is the Pellet Group?